part of me thought these candidates all secretly hoped that that labor dispute would kill this debate, simply because I think this feels like a debate where you can only do harm, that there isn't, it is hard to do positive. That said, have you discerned a strategy tonight for anybody?
I just think you have to look at the stage and realize that of the 7 candidates on there, and that's the least number that we've ever had together on one stage throughout this entire primary process, the stakes are different for the core 4, I would argue, the Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, and then the other 3 candidates on the stage. If you're in that core 4 who we've seen kind of having popcorn moments over the course of the last few months, be it in viral media cycles or just in terms of them popping to the top of the field in polls, then you need to, if you're Pete Buttigieg, continue the momentum. Elizabeth Warren, kind of stop the bleeding a little bit and re-energize your campaign. So for those 4 people on the stage, that's their stakes. For the 3 people on the stage, Yang, Steyer, and Klobuchar, who need to, at this point, take advantage of the fact that the field is winnowing. And effectively, the strategy, especially for someone like Amy Klobuchar, has been stay in this race long enough so that once voters see less candidates up there, you can give yourself a good, solid pitch, and they'll pick up what you're putting down. So that now is really the time for someone like her to have a big moment on the stage. And if you look at it, Amy Klobuchar has actually been pretty adept at making something out of these debates. She's been able to have fundraising milestones that she's reached, which have allowed her to not just stay in the race, but build out on the ground. And so the stakes are different for everyone on that stage, especially if you're a senator, because the other I word, if you're a 2020 Democrat, yeah, it's impeachment, but it's also Iowa. That's a place that they may not be seeing in the near future, especially if you're a senator having to be in Washington.
I'm curious, Allie, a lot of times campaigns telegraph what they may want their news to be out of this debate. You getting a sense of that?
I'm not necessarily getting a sense of that. I really do think that when you say it's do no harm, it's make a strong enough lasting impression that if you're a senator, you can potentially last going through this impeachment process. Or if you're anyone else on that stage going into the holidays, as people go home and start talking about politics with their families, they're starting to make decisions in these early states. Just make a good enough lasting impression. Do no harm in what you're saying, which is that make a strong enough impression. I also think that when you talk about impeachment, watching how it manifests on the stage tonight is going to be interesting. In the last debate, when they were asked about impeachment, it was how quickly can you turn it back to your central campaign messaging points? Interested to see what those points are tonight.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.